Before there were laws, before there were kings, before Babylon learned to write its own legends into clay, there were strange nights, secret nights, forbidden nights that shaped the soul of the greatest empire the ancient world ever feared. These were nights Babylon never wanted its scribes to record. Nights so dark, so chaotic, so revealing that the city tried to bury them under new rituals, new myths, new temples. But secrets never stay buried. Not in a city built on pride, desire, fear, and the hunger for meaning. And today, inside the House of Babylon, we will open the door to those forbidden festivals, the nights Babylon tried to erase. If you have not subscribed yet, I invite you now step into the dark with us. This is where your journey begins. Long before Babylon became the gate of God, it was a place of raw human emotion. People lived close to the earth, close to their fears, close to the mysteries they could not explain. Life was hard. Nature was unpredictable. And the need to feel in control of it for one night was overwhelming. That was the true origin of the forbidden festivals. Ancient attempts to wrestle with chaos by becoming chaos. The first forbidden festival was born out of fear, the fear of a world that could flood, starve, burn, or vanish without warning. The early Babylonians believed the universe was filled with forces humans could not understand, spirits of wind, fire, sickness, and hunger. To face these unseen powers, they created nights where rules dissolved and the world temporarily returned to its original chaos. They believed that by acting out disorder, they could protect themselves from real disaster. These nights were not celebrations. They were exorcisms. The second forbidden festival came from desire, the kind of desire that grows when a society becomes more prosperous than it can emotionally handle. As Babylon grew rich, as merchants returned with gold, perfumes, wine, spices, and silk, the people felt something rise inside them, a hunger for pleasure that no ordinary day could satisfy. And so they created a night where desire was not hidden, it was unleashed. A night where the lines between sacred and sinful blurred, where the temple steps became stages, where songs carried through the alleys until dawn. But the scribes would later erase these nights from the tablets, not because they were ashamed, but because they feared future generations would misunderstand them. These nights were not meant to celebrate sin. They were meant to release pressure before it destroyed the city from within. The third forbidden festival was born from power. Not the power of kings or priests, but the power of ordinary people who lived under heavy expectations. Babylonian society was strict. Every role was defined. The scribe must write. The farmer must harvest. The merchant must trade. The priest must interpret the sky. But once a year, this order inverted. The lowest became the highest. Servants spoke like kings. Children commanded parents. Slaves sat at the head of the table. For one night, the city turned upside down. The purpose was psychological, a release valve for frustration, humiliation, and buried anger. In a strange way, this night prevented rebellion by giving people a taste of freedom, just enough to survive another year. The fourth forbidden festival was darker, and it was performed in silence. It took place during the longest night of the year. The Babylonians believed that on this night, the boundaries between the living and the dead grew thin. They lit no lamps. They played no music. They spoke no words. Families gathered together in complete silence, listening for signs creaking wood, shifting sand, the faint rustle of wind against their doors. They believed the spirits of their ancestors wandered the city, searching for unresolved wrongs. This festival terrified children, humbled adults, and reminded everyone that even in a powerful empire, death remained the final ruler. When Babylon grew more confident and less fearful, the city tried to erase this festival. It was too real, too honest, too raw. But the memory of that silence lived on. The fifth forbidden festival was the most dangerous. It was called the Night of No Names. During this night, no one was allowed to speak another person's name. No titles, no ranks, no family ties. People walked through the streets as strangers, even to those they loved. By removing names, Babylon removed identity. And without identity, every person confronted the truth. They were not their status, not their wealth, not their role. They were simply human, vulnerable, temporary, mortal. The priests feared the power of this night, for a population who sees themselves as equal. Even for one night is a population that might begin questioning the hierarchy. Eventually, the king outlawed the festival, and anyone caught participating was punished. The sixth forbidden festival was the one the city feared the most, the Feast of Forgetting. In ancient times, memory was power. Remembering debts, promises, failures, and alliances was essential for survival. But once a year, people tried to forget. They destroyed letters, erased marks on clay tablets, threw away objects tied to painful memories. For one night, Babylon became a city of amnesia. People danced with strangers, forgave enemies, and acted as if their entire past had been washed clean. But the next morning was always brutal. Debts returned, promises returned, regret returned. The festival was banned because the scribes believed it weakened the discipline of the empire. But the idea lived in secret, whispered between those who carried heavy emotional burdens. The seventh forbidden festival was the one that truly terrified the rulers. It was a night when people took off their masks, literal and emotional. Every deception, every resentment, every secret desire was spoken aloud. Couples confessed betrayal. Friends admitted envy. Children confronted parents. Neighbors revealed grudges. The night usually ended in tears, fights, or sudden embraces. No one was the same afterward. The king banned this festival immediately. Too much truth was dangerous for an empire built on order. What makes these forbidden festivals so fascinating is not the rituals themselves, but what they reveal about the Babylonian soul. These nights showed that an empire, no matter how powerful, was still filled with humans wrestling with fear, desire, shame, grief, longing, and the need to feel alive. The banned festivals exposed the emotional architecture of Babylon better than any law, temple, or tablet. The festivals also reveal something deeper, that the human mind needs moments of chaos to survive order. People cannot live in structure alone. Without releases, pressure builds until it breaks the entire system. Babylon understood this in its early days, but as the empire grew wealthier, prouder, and more controlling, it tried to erase the parts of itself that felt too human. And that was the beginning of its emotional collapse. The truth is simple. Babylon did not fall because of war. It fell because its people were no longer allowed to feel. When emotions are suppressed, they return stronger, sharper, darker, more destructive. The forbidden festivals once gave Babylon the space to breathe, to confront its fears, to acknowledge its weaknesses, to renew its soul. When those festivals vanished, something inside the empire began to die. But here is the most haunting part. The emotional patterns behind these festivals still live in us. We still have nights of chaos. We still hide our truths. We still fear silence. We still avoid confronting ourselves. We still long to forget. We still wear masks. We still try to escape identity, pressure, and expectation. The forbidden festivals of Babylon are not ancient history. They are windows into human nature. They are rituals we still follow, only in different forms. And that is why, even after thousands of years, the story of Babylon still feels like the story of us. If this chapter opened your eyes, subscribe now and stay close. Every week, the House of Babylon reveals another forgotten truth, another shadow from the world's first great empire. Welcome to House of Babylon. Your journey has just begun.